Good morning, YouTube. Tyre Metalhead Weatherman. Hopefully, you guys are doing well this morning, having a good start to your weekend. Well, this is a normal little customary thing that I do on the channel where we just go over the forecast for the weekend just to make sure your plans are set in stone and you're just prepared. So, what we're going to do, of course, is mainly talk about what's going on in the West, but really, we're just going to be covering the entire country in general. But for the most part, like I said, the worst of the activity will be to the west. There are chances for some pop up showers and storms around the central and eastern parts of the country, but these will bear very little significance. No severe weather expected this weekend. That's why we're not even looking at the SPC. So, that being said, let's look at the temperatures. For the most part, a lot of us are going to be sitting either above average or just like either right at it for this week. I mean, you can see the colder temperatures are kind of staying more to the north. Towards the south, we're lingering around the 50s, 60s in some spots. Maybe towards the Gulf Coast, we're pushing a little closer to 70, if not just a bit above it. But as we move this forward, the cold air just will kind of keep pulsing in and out, but mainly just staying just north of really Kansas here. There could be some below freezing temperatures during the morning hours for some, but when we get into the actual day, not really a whole lot going on there with that. A little further off to the west, towards the valleys, we're hanging around the 50s and 60s. Some spots getting towards the 40s, but in those higher elevations, it's of course going to be below freezing, and we will be seeing a lot of wintry precip as a result. Also have to watch this little region over here towards the Great Lakes and part of the Mid-Atlantic, the Ohio Valley as well. And then right around the north of the border, we'll have to watch that too for a little bit of a colder air and also some activity. One thing that I didn't make mention of in last night's video is the amount of wind energy that's associated with these atmospheric rivers. There's some really strong winds. A lot of these are of what's called the bomb cyclone variety. So, and I don't know if I've gone over this yet, and I probably will in the Weather 101 playlist video. Link to that'll be in the top right, by the way. But the basically what a bomb cyclone is a storm system that has a really strong low pressure and strengthens very rapidly. Basically, if you were to look at if you knew how pressure was measured, it's measured in millibars, or if you didn't know, now you know. But it's measured in millibars, and if we go over a 24-hour period and we see a drop of at least 1 millibar per hour for over 24 hours, then it's considered a bomb cyclone. It's just a rapidly strengthening extratropical system. So, that being said, usually what ends up happening when we have that kind of drop is the winds usually will increase a bit. And this is also common with hurricanes, so you've learned a couple of new things today. But you can see it here clearly when this next little river comes in. These little yellow areas right here are the greatest areas of note where we're getting wind gusts close to 60 miles an hour. Of course, these are mostly going to be based in the higher elevations, but even towards the valleys, we're starting to get into 30, 35 mile per hour winds, and these are wind gusts. I can't really see sustained winds with the NAM. I'd have to find another model for that. But we can clearly see that these increase as time goes on. As this pushes further and further inland, those gusts start to increase as we go further and further inland, and this is looking more towards Sunday morning or overnight Saturday into Sunday. And then look at that. This is just on the valley or just on the fringe of the Sierra Nevadas. We're getting gusts close to 50 miles an hour. This will probably end up exceeding 50 at one point. And then as that one clears out, winds will start to die down. And then look what happens right after that. An even stronger system will be coming in. And this is getting close to that time frame where I was talking about where a couple of bigger systems will be coming in around the 10th, where we could be seeing up to about 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts easily. And this is even working its way into the valleys here and on the coast. We're getting 30, close to 30, maybe even 40 mile per hour gust here. So even with those temperatures being close to about 40, 50 degrees, the winds are going to make that feel a lot less comfortable. I know it's a little bit chillier for some of you guys than what you're used to. These winds are going to make it a little bit worse. You're not going to get any wind chill advisories or wind chill warnings out of it, but you're definitely going to notice a difference. That being said, let's go ahead and take a look at what we could be dealing with on the moisture side of things. Oops, and I've done a sounding. All right, so here we are with the precip here, and you can see what's going on mostly towards the west. Off to the east, like I said, nothing really major. Shortwave systems bringing a few showers, maybe a couple rumbles of thunder in some areas, but for the most part, going to be relatively quiet over here. Over towards the west is where all the action is, and we can see this little boundary between the valley and the mountains of the Sierra Nevadas coming into play. We can also see the same going on in Washington and Oregon, and this continues as time goes on throughout the weekend. So some of you guys are going to get smacked with some pretty good snowfall totals. And then over towards Sunday morning, we get a few more showers and thunderstorms popping up here towards the Gulf. Low pressure not very strong, not a very abundant warm sector. So it's a very short-term event, but we do have to watch over towards the mid-Atlantic here because this low has the look of maybe sneaking in a little bit of moisture. And over towards maybe Maryland, you could start out as rain and see a brief period of snow. This doesn't become a significant storm. The significant storm will be more towards next week. And then, of course, we're still dealing with our atmospheric river issues over towards the western coast. There's one thing that we can take out of that that's positive is the fact that there is a difference in the drought now. It's not quite as exceptional as it was before. I don't really have a graphic to show that, but in this video, but I may try to find it in an upcoming video. But while this is helping the drought, the only downside to this is it's happening all at once, which is never a good thing. But hopefully, this will end up making things more suitable for people that end up farming out here, because that's a very big deal still over in California in particular. Land is very good for that there. That being said, rambled on enough about that. We're going to go ahead and take a look at what we could be dealing with as far as rainfall and then snowfall as well. So here's what we're dealing with right now as far as rainfall is concerned. Of course, the greatest totals are going to be off the west coast here, where we could be easily looking at 4 inches plus in a lot of areas, and these are towards the valleys. Some of these totals, as far as quantitative precip, this could include snow, so we have to make sure we're not including the areas that are going to be below freezing, because obviously that will translate to frozen precipitation. But a lot of areas just up and down the west coast in general are going to be seeing at least up to an inch or more of rain. That's almost just the general consensus. This is on the euro, by the way. We're going to, of course, be comparing the other models. But for the most part, at least widespread, 1 close to 2 inches of rain or more seems likely. We head over to the eastern half of the country here. We have some pockets where we get up to about 2 inches of rain. I'm really not expecting a whole lot out of that. I think this is somewhat overplayed for this area. This makes a lot more sense. This doesn't quite make as much sense, but we'll see how this progresses here. A couple pockets here where we could get up to about maybe 2 inches, I think, mainly over towards the Gulf Coast, where the showers and storms are likely to be a little bit more amped up. The further north you go, as you can see, the precip starts to really taper off here until we get offshore. Then when we go to the Canadian, it's a pretty similar look, a little less aggressive than the euro. And then GFS has a similar look as well. Rain's pushed back a little bit further east, and the totals are a little less. But even actually towards the west coast, I see a little. I don't see as much of a bullseye on the coast as I did before, but that's mainly going to be towards California, which still coincides with the other models. The NAM shows a similar look, and then the 3 kilometer shows a similar look. Keep on hitting this sounding here for whatever reason. And then, of course, here's our favorite, the blend of models. And of course, we're still looking at a bullseye mainly towards Northern California here, which is not unexpected. This next part of the atmospheric river is looking like it's going to be heading more towards the northwest here. And then, of course, as I said before, the Gulf Coast seems like it's going to be the greatest area of interest as far as showers and storm activity, especially off of the Texas coast and parts of Louisiana. But of course, as we go further north, the precipitation drops off, and we're leaning a little bit more towards snow the further north we go. So now that we've looked at all of those, let's go ahead and take a look at the wintry precip. We're going to take a look at the Cuchera here. I'm going to start out with the Euro if I can. And one thing that I'm not really surprised by the limited snowfall totals that we have over here for the weekend. Wasn't really expecting much. These aren't going to be big systems that make it over to this side of the country. All the action is going to really be over here. Jet stream's not really in a favorable setup to push any anything major past the Rockies, really. Of course, the Sierra Nevadas are going to be the hardest hit areas. A little bit of a region towards Northern California here, where we could be seeing feet of snow, potentially up to about 5 feet in some spots, which is absolutely wild, but not unreasonable given the way the models have looked. Same can be said for this area over here towards the Sierra, where we could see at least 3 feet or more of snow. We can't forget about Oregon and Washington here. Washington, this area here, could be seeing at least up to a foot or more of snow. Possibly there could be a small pocket of areas where we get up to 2 feet. And the same can be said for areas around Oregon. Idaho, it looks like you guys could be getting in some action here, but it looks like I would say maybe 6 to 8 inches seems to be the consensus here for you guys. When we look a little further to the east, there's some small pockets where we could get up to about maybe 1 to 2 inches, maybe a little bit more in a couple of spots. But other than that, you're mainly getting traces of snow, maybe up to about half an inch or maybe an inch at the most. And this is, of course, the Euro. Make our comparison with the Canadian here. It's pretty similar. Slightly more aggressive with the totals a little further east. Then when we look at the GFS, it's a little bit more aggressive to the east, but the west remains the same. A little bit higher totals towards Washington. And then when we go over to the NAM, it's a pretty similar look. Maybe a little bit higher snowfall totals over towards areas like West Virginia. Some parts of the Mid-Atlantic getting a little bit more into the action here. And then with the 3 kilometer, a little bit more aggressive with the totals towards the Sierra Nevada. The areas where we could see 5 feet stretch a little bit further south as well. And then there's even a little pocket over here where we could see extra snow over towards the mountain ranges in southern Washington. We do see a small, what seems almost representative of a small band that would end up forming right around West Virginia here and parts of Pennsylvania, maybe even towards Philadelphia, where we could see a couple spots that get a little bit of extra snow, maybe even up to a couple of inches here. Off the Great Lakes here, towards southern New York here, we could see a little bit of increased totals, but for the most part, I think it's going to remain relatively light, maybe up to about maybe an inch, 2 inches at most. Still pretty much in line with the other models here. So that's pretty much all we got going there. The blended models, I took a look at it earlier. It's not too much different from what we've been seeing here with these others. So it's no real surprise there. But that's pretty much the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. I will probably do an update video tomorrow in regards to the atmospheric river, and also starting to hone in a little bit closer to the severe threat for the start of the week, and then towards the start of the following week after that. Very active times, folks. Definitely hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Trying to get the 300 subs, but I'm also just trying to spread good info out to the people that may need it. That being said, this has been Tired Metalhead Weatherman. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good day.